We're going to bring back our jobs, and we're going to save our jobs, and people are going to have great jobs again. And this country, which is very, very divided in so many different ways, is going to become one beautiful, loving country. And we're going to love each other. We're going to cherish each other. We're going to take care of each other. And we're going to have great economic development. And we're not going to let other countries take it away from us, because that's what's been happening for far too many years. And we're not going to do it anymore.
This is Connect the World with me, Lynda Kinkade. Welcome back. Donald Trump there giving a victory speech after becoming the presumptive Republican nominee for US president. Now, Trump doesn't yet have the 1,237 delegates needed to clinch the nomination, but he no longer has Ted Cruz trying to block his path. Cruz dropped out of the race Tuesday night after a crushing defeat in Indiana's primary. On the Republican side, Bernie Sanders says he has bad news for Hillary Clinton. He says he can still win the Democratic nomination after pulling off yet another upset win. Sanders beat Clinton in Indiana, but made little dent in her overall delegate lead. Ted Cruz himself predicted that the Indiana primary would decide the Republican nomination. We're joined now by Sunlen Sefaty live in Indianapolis. As Sunlen, it was looking for a long time like we were going to see a contested convention in July. That's no longer the case. Donald Trump is the candidate at this stage, a man who just 11 months ago had never run for public office. Quite a shock.
Yeah, you know, this is remarkable, and I think it has come to a shock to many within the Republican Party. You know, much has been said and I think joked about how the Republican Party's really gone through 7 stages of grief and kind of coming around to Donald Trump, but very clear he is going forward. This will not go to a contested convention, likely will be the presumptive nominee, and we saw him in that victory speech really make a very clear turn towards pivoting towards a general election, looking ahead, but also sending a message to the Republican Party and the Republican establishment, many of whom fought very hard against his candidacy, that he intends to try to unite the party. He, according to aides, intends to try to take on a more presidential tone in the days going forward. And, you know, of course, this will be the big test for him. We heard from the RNC chairman, Reince Priebus, you know, basically come out and say he will likely be the presumptive nominee. That was a big signal to many of Republicans. Now it's time to get behind this as our nominee.
It was interesting last night. You were at the speech by Ted Cruz. He didn't even mention Trump when he conceded defeat and suspended his campaign. Yet Trump was quite gracious when he spoke. Will we see more of that going forward? And could he possibly work with Cruz?
Yeah, I think we will see more of that going forward. You know, it was certainly very notable, as you said, in Ted Cruz's concession speech here in Indianapolis. He made absolutely no mention of Donald Trump. You know, Trump has certainly been the thorn in the side of his campaign. And the big question is, will Ted Cruz throw his support behind Donald Trump as the nominee? Now, we have not heard yes or no from aides. Aides point to the fact that this has been such a bruising campaign, primary season, and that his wounds are very raw at this point. But certainly we saw him really push back, and it struck such a chord within Ted Cruz when Donald Trump went after his family. But it is still a question mark how he intends to take a stand on this. And we did see in Donald Trump's victory speech last night really kind of mending offenses, I should say, saying, you know, offering very rare praise for Ted Cruz, saying he was a tough competitor. You know, gone were the days where he called him lying Ted. He just referred to him as Senator Ted Cruz last night. So I think there is an effort on the part of Donald Trump to reach out. He said he certainly would welcome Ted Cruz's endorsement, but I'm not sure at this point if he should hold his breath for that, Lynda.
Yeah, I don't think he should. Sunlen Sefaty, great to have you with us. Thanks so much. Well, let's get some more perspective now on both the Democratic and Republican races. We're joined now by Rebecca Sinderbrand, political news editor at The Washington Post. Great to have you with us. For such a long time, the pundits thought Trump's candidacy was a bit of a joke, and then it was only a matter of time before he'd be pushed out. Now that he is the presumptive Republican nominee, could he actually win in a general election?
You know, this is the question. He's starting off in a very big hole. First of all, any Republican candidate, not just Donald Trump, starts off at a disadvantage when it comes to the Electoral College. Donald Trump has an even deeper demographic hole. He has issues with women voters, with African-American voters, with Hispanic voters that are going to be incredibly difficult for him to overcome. And and he's building a campaign organization essentially from scratch, a fundraising operation, a grassroots ground game operation that he just does not have right now.
Many are wondering if he will soften some of his tone. As Sunlen mentioned, he might take on a more presidential tone, but he has made a lot of controversial remarks recently. There's the wall in Mexico, his proposed ban on Muslims entering the United States. And just today he stood by that ban, suggesting Muslim immigrants could destroy the United States. Take a listen to this.
We have to be extremely careful, and we have to be vigilant. Yes, we have to find out what the hell is going on. And if you look at what's happening all over Europe with the migration, and look at what's happening, it's terrible what they've done to some of these countries. They're going to destroy. I mean, they're destroying Europe.
Right.
I'm not going to let that happen to the United States.
Do you think he should start toning down that rhetoric?
Well, certainly we've gotten the impression and gotten the signal from both Donald Trump and his aides that he's looking to change his tone just a bit to make a bit of a pivot heading into the general election. What's not clear is whether that's something he's actually capable of doing completely. You know, you have a camp within his campaign that has said, look, let Trump be Trump. You don't want to hold him back. This is what's gotten him this far. So on the one hand, you see him try to make these turns, try to change his tone. You certainly saw a more subdued Donald Trump last night. And on the other hand, you see him, as you said today, doubling down on some of his more controversial statements. So it'll be interesting to see which path he veers toward in the days ahead.
Looking at Trump and women, we saw last night when he did that speech, the strong women in his family standing behind him. He has, of course, had a lot of problems with comments that when he's spoken about women and talking about Hillary Clinton playing the woman card. How do you think he should use the women in his family to help him going forward?
Well, certainly, you know, Ivanka Trump in particular has been a very high-profile surrogate for her father and someone who's very well-liked. The issue is not so much the women within his family and what sort of impact they can have. It's the statements that he's made, and you're already starting to see, we saw this week, campaign ads starting to pop on the web and elsewhere from Democrats making use of Donald Trump's statements about women, just stringing together clips of things he said in the past. And it'll be interesting to see exactly how Republican officials further down the ticket, those running for senator, those running for governor, react to those statements, whether they go closer to their party's presumptive nominee or try to put some distance.
Okay, Rebecca Sinderbrand, we'll have to leave it there for now. Great to have your analysis on all of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.